Oh, okay, that works. The first challenge is, of course, to overcome the large and growing shortage of skilled labor. If you think back 15 to 20 years ago, the main challenge for the companies in Europe, for the economy as a whole, was unemployment. Everybody was fighting the unemployment and trying to reduce unemployment. And then in the last years, the main problem was quite the opposite. We don't have enough skilled labor. There's a lack of skilled workforce. This has two reasons. One reason is that too many young people go to study and are young academics, and the unemployment rate of many young academics is quite high, while there's a really lack of trained professional or vocational people. For example, in Poland, the study rate is around 70%. So more than 2/3 of all young people in Poland study, but nobody needs so many academics in the labor market. But what they need are actually trained professionals from the vocational sector. And then, of course, we have the demographic changes, meaning we have less young people in the last 20 years, and not just the whole number of young people that can work is reduced. In the last weeks, since Corona started, this changed a little bit. The unemployment increased actually, and many companies were hesitant to recruit new talents, but it seems it's already changing. I just read an article yesterday that the employment market is catching up again, and no matter what, in the long run, there will be a big competition for the best talents in Europe. We've seen this for years now that, for example, people from Latvia come to work to Germany, and German people go to Denmark, and the Danish people go to Norway, always where you find the best salaries. And the competition for young talents is quite high in the European region. The second biggest challenge for SMEs is that we need to close the entrepreneurial gap and secure also the transfer of businesses. When we talk about entrepreneurship and starting your own business, the focus has been always on starting a business from scratch. So you graduate from university and then you start the business. But the European Commission identified that actually more jobs are lost due to failed transfers than new jobs are created in startups. So we see now that many owners that started their companies in the early 90s are facing the pension age. They are around 60, 65 now, and they need successors to take over their business. For example, in Germany, we need every year around 180,000 young entrepreneurs that take over the businesses of retiring owners. And we're not close to reaching that number. In the European Union as a whole, the number is more than 500,000 SMEs that look for successors every year. So it could be an idea, instead of starting your own business as an entrepreneur, to take over an existing running business. Of course, the advantages and disadvantages are quite different. When you start your own business from scratch, it's much easier. You just start on your own, then you maybe hire somebody, and you go step by step. But if you take over a business, you have maybe 5 employees from the first day, and you need to secure the income to pay these costs and really have a good negotiation with the leaving owner so that you can make a profit from day one to pay these salaries. But it's also quite rewarding, but just something that is often overseen. The third big topic that we deal with is the skill increase and the strengthening of innovation. Innovation has been quite of a buzzword in the last years, but it's quite obvious that we have to be innovative, because otherwise we cannot compete with low labor cost countries in, I don't know, Romania or India or China. We just have to produce better products and offer better services. Otherwise, we will not be able to compete in the markets. And this applies especially for SMEs who are rather traditional and often are a little bit too slow when it comes to being innovative. We thought that this challenge of many immigrants coming to Europe in 2015, 2016 is also a big opportunity. The integration of these large numbers of immigrants in refugees is, of course, a very challenging task, but it can be very rewarding, and we see a huge potential in this. Because often the refugees who came to the European host countries have a good basis of skills and actually good entrepreneurial potential. And we figured it might be a better idea to train them to become an entrepreneur instead of helping them to do an education from scratch. So instead of having an education of 3 years, they can become an entrepreneur in a rather fast and short time and start their own business, if they are the right candidate for that, because not everybody has the right entrepreneurial potential. And of course, one of the keystones of this project is to identify those people that are interested in becoming an entrepreneur and discuss the entrepreneurial potential with them. And I believe Dr. Schaumer will give us an overview about that later on. The objectives of the project are fast integration of refugees into the working lives by training and promotion of the entrepreneurship level, to recruit additional target groups and increase the number of potential SME successors and founders by increasing this overall number of entrepreneurs. So by really using this potential of new people coming to our countries. And last but not least, to improve the entrepreneurial skills and attract qualified entrepreneurs, and thus ensure an innovative success and increase the number of SMEs and jobs. So to realize the succession in the companies. The project has been running for 3 years, and I'm very happy that today we'll get an overview about the different measures. We picked out some of the key measures, but everybody's welcome to chip in, and you see more videos on the website. But we planned the following agenda. So after this introduction, my colleague Christian Wild will give an overview about the attraction and qualification of refugees as successors. And then Professor Dr. Uwe Schaumann from the Berufsakademie Hamburg will introduce the tool that we use to determine the entrepreneurial competences. Then I'm pleased that our colleague from Austria, Mrs. Heidrun Pichler-Ripfel from the Institut für angewandte Gewerbeforschung der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich, will share the experience with the language training for new entrepreneurs, followed by Elina Predolina from the Hanse-Parlament, who will share some insights about the models and experiences of successful training and entrepreneurs. And then again from Austria, we have Sophie Bernett, likewise from the Institut für angewandte Gewerbeforschung der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich. And she will give us some insights of the very concrete practical work with the refugees and the prospect of the integration as an entrepreneur in the labor market. And then we have some time for questions and answers, but after every presentation, you're also welcome to raise questions if you have any. So at this moment, do you have any questions, anybody? Or should we proceed? Or was it too fast? No, I just see shaking heads. Check the chat, but no, nothing in the chat. So I will give the microphone to Christian Wild, who will continue with the next presentation.
So, can everybody hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will just start right on with my presentation. Also from me, a warm welcoming. My name is Christian Wild. I'm from the Hanse-Parlament, and today I will talk about this very exciting and innovative project, New Entrepreneurs, we developed in the last 3 years. So let me start with a short introduction about small and medium-sized enterprises, because they are really the companies that carry Europe. We know that more than 99%, in many countries, 99.8, 99.9% of the companies are SMEs, meaning they employ less than 250 employees. These companies provide about 75% of all jobs in the European Union. And together with the employees, they finance about 80% of the total government expenditures and the social benefits. We've seen in the last decade that almost all additional jobs, we know numbers about 85% of the additional jobs were created in small and medium-sized companies. And these companies, they secure growth and prosperity for everybody in the European Union. And it's important to state out that these companies build the future in Europe. So what we've seen here in Europe is a shortage of entrepreneurs, and this in fact limits the small and medium-sized enterprises by large. In general, they have very good growth opportunities because they are fast and small and agile, but for this they need qualified personnel first of all, and then the strong and growing shortage of entrepreneurs limits the growth and innovative capabilities of SMEs. In the last 40 years in the Western world, you can assess different measures, but the research reports a decline in entrepreneurs by about 50% in the last 40 years. And at the same time, the competition for small and medium-sized companies with large corporations is increasing. And due to the shortage of entrepreneurs and the shortage of qualified personnel, it turns out that SMEs are turned into losers more and more with the increased competition. At the same time, the vocational education and training has received very low attractiveness in the last years. We know that about 60% of the school graduates go to university. We've just heard that in Poland, for example, it's about 70%. And this is a very low level because the small and medium-sized companies, they need well-trained, well-qualified personnel working there, and the predominantly school-based vocational education and training systems in many European countries, they cannot deliver these qualified personnel. And this turns the vocational education, which if it stays on a school-based track, into a dead end. And we see now that after the last years of strong and a lot of numbers of apprentices started in the companies now, more and more companies, they are complaining about a lack of competencies and also a lack of quantity in the personnel. So we've come into a position nowadays that every year more jobs are lost due to young entrepreneurs taking over existing SMEs. Then new jobs are created with new startups every year. And this is also caused by the shortage of entrepreneurs in Europe. So what's the conclusion of this? We need many more entrepreneurs. And for this, we need to attract new target groups to become entrepreneurs. So on the basis of this project, we've thought, how can we do this? How can science and universities help SMEs training more entrepreneurs? And the existing answer is that we need to promote entrepreneurship within new target groups. We need to attract more young people, we need to attract more women, and we need to attract more foreigners. And we did some research about the foreigners and their relationship to entrepreneurship. And we looked at the self-employed, for example, in Europe, and we saw that around 30% of them have a migration background. So it's very common for foreigners to start their own business. So then we thought, okay, maybe refugees in general can help to alleviate entrepreneurship shortages if we train them, because the context, this project was created in 2016, then 2017 when it started. The refugees in Europe were way more in the focus than they are nowadays, but of course there is still plenty of room for training of refugees. And we also saw that in the countries of origin where the refugees come from, they have higher self-employment rates in general. So for people from there, it's much more common to start their own business and become their own chef. And it's not so common, for example, here in Germany often. So then we built up the project with the basis that how to integrate the refugees the most quickly as possible and the most unbureaucratic as possible, as successors or as founders of new businesses, or if this is not possible, as employees in SMEs. So then the 3-year project, New Skills for New Entrepreneurs, Attraction, Qualification of Refugees, was launched in September 2017, and it's going to end in September 2020. And the idea, some preliminary considerations of this project were that we didn't want to build up the project on the basis of trying to recognize the refugees' existing certificates, because this turns out to be very difficult in Germany, for example. In Germany, the degree must be equal or almost equal as the German degree. And as you can imagine, it's almost impossible for the refugees to prove that they are, or that the degree they got in their home country is the same as the German degree. So if you want to recognize the skills and the certificates, you need to train the refugees for 3 years. And this would mean 3 years without work. And this is a very long time for an adult. And it's not manageable to tell somebody to get training for another 3 years before he's able to start to work. Also, we saw that the skill recognition program in Germany is delivering very, very low results. We saw from the period 2011 to 2016 only 70,000 degrees recognized. And yeah, this is very.
A student had to wire a room, electrically wire a room. That was the assessment criteria.
Yeah, I think now it's better, and because 70,000 degrees recognized in about 6 years, we know every year more than 500,000 people, for example, in Germany, receive their degrees. So this is a very, very low number compared to the overall number of degrees. And yeah, all the architects, bricklayers, engineers could only be working as unskilled laborers. But with the project New Entrepreneurs, we want to create a rapid and unbureaucratic way to qualify these refugees and integrate them. Yeah, by identifying their entrepreneurial competencies, by offering a language training, motivation, creativity training, by training them as entrepreneurs with internships, with practice in SMEs, and coaching them really as a complete and very complex coaching process until the company until the refugee takes over a business or starts its own business or gets an employment. So this project was started by in total 5 partners, by the Berufsakademie from Hamburg, by from Austria, the Institute of Applied Industrial Research, from the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, from Italy, the Trasferimento Tecnologico e Innovazione, and from Hungary, the Hungarian Association of Craftsmen's Corporation. And of course, from Germany, the Hanse-Parlament. And the idea was to work with refugees in Austria, Italy, and Germany. And in Hungary, on the other side, we worked with foreigners and locals, but not with refugees. So the benefit of this procedure was that in the end, we developed instruments for 3 groups: for natives, for foreigners, and for refugees. So all the materials we developed are universal for the 3 groups to use them. Then, of course, the transfer and implementation takes place with a lot of partners, with 50 chambers and 18 universities from 13 European countries. So, what's the overall project design? The project starts with a two-stage assessment to determine the entrepreneurial competences. And then it continues with the language training. It goes on with the creativity and motivation training. And then the refugee can receive the qualification as an entrepreneur with an entrepreneur training, and at the same time also several longer placements, internships in SMEs. And if the refugee finishes the modules from the entrepreneur training, he can receive a recognized degree as entrepreneur. And then in the end follows the business startup and takeover training. And all the process is complemented with intensive coaching and consultation, also with the training of the trainers. So what are the objectives, activities, and outputs? First of all, we started with the determination of the entrepreneurial competencies. Professor Dr. Uwe Schaumann will talk later about this. And at this point, I also want to mention once again the videos we prepared before the conference. There are several videos available on the Hanse-Parlament YouTube channel. And later we will also distribute once again the link for the registration on the project website. The second objective was the language training, which of course needs to be country specific. And this training was tested and evaluated in Austria, Italy, and Hungary. We completed, after the testing, the curriculum and the teaching materials. And there's also a video available about the language training. And later on, Mrs. Heidrun Bichler-Röpfel will talk about the language training more in detail. Another training developed was the motivation and creativity training. We developed a curriculum for a 2-day training course, and this focused on strengthening the motivation and to create innovative new ideas, maybe 1 or 2 ideas the refugees can use later to start their business. And this motivation and creativity training was tested in Germany, Austria, Italy, and Hungary, partially due to during the Corona crisis. And we noticed that also with videos and with editing videos, for example, you can design an awesome creativity training. And there's also a video available on this by Mr. Marco Braga on the YouTube channel. Then the entrepreneurship training is another part of the project. A curriculum for entrepreneurs was developed with in total 8 models, and the refugee and the coach decides demand-orientated which module one really needs to attend. The reason for this is that, first of all, with the competencies assessment, you know where the refugee needs to improve his or her qualifications, and then you can really select which model to use individually. And these models cover topics like business administration, human resources and leadership, vocational and occupational education, and there are 2 specific models also for foreigners. And yeah, these models, as I said, can be combined or need to be combined with internships, longer internships, 1 to 3 internships in SMEs. And in fact, when all the models are combined, 2 recognized degrees are available. And this entrepreneurship training, of course, needs to be a little bit designed country specifically. For example, in Austria, it's the entrepreneur driving license, and this training was tested in Austria, Italy, and Hungary. And all the materials are now available. There's also a video available explaining this in detail by Mira Alexander. And the next activity was the business startup and takeover training. Also, curriculum was developed for 2-day training and coaching to overcome the last hurdles before starting self-employment. And this was tested and evaluated in Austria, Italy, and Hungary. And there's a video available by Tamás Rettich also on the YouTube channel about this in detail. The coaching, consulting, and integration program was developed and implemented as a train-the-trainer program for consultants who are accompanying this process and training the refugees. So individual coaching, consulting, and integration programs were developed to assess if the completion of a business startup or takeover activity is successful. In Austria, Italy, and Hungary, this program was tested. And there's a video available on the YouTube channel by Sophie Bernett. And also later, Ms. Sophie Bernett will talk about this program in detail. And then last, the transfer and implementation of all the activities and outputs takes place. We are right now developing a book which is to be published soon with all the results, but also on the project results platform and the website. All the results curricula will be available very soon. Video available targeting this by Dr. Max Hogeforster is also available on the YouTube channel. So in the end, just to sum up this program, it's a very great opportunity for SMEs, for chambers and SME promoters, and of course for refugee and migrants to qualify themselves as entrepreneurs and start their own business or take over an existing business. It's a very unbureaucratic and rapid integration of refugees, because we know the faster refugees are integrated into the labor market, the faster refugees are integrated also in the social life in the country. And we see from the trainings, from the implementation, from the testing, that really the refugees were highly motivated in the program, and that there is really the possibility that they help in overcoming the shortage of skilled workers and entrepreneurs in Europe. All the instruments and measures are successfully tested, and you can use them for the 3 target groups: refugees, foreigners, and also natives. So for SMEs, this program delivers the benefit that SMEs receive skilled workers and young entrepreneurs, and from one single source, this service, tailor-made service, just in time, and it's really recommendable to include more refugees and SMEs in this program. So in the end, just to make this point again, SMEs are really important for Europe. They carry Europe. They build the future of Europe, and thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. Are there any direct questions regarding the presentation of Christian? Nope, and please don't forget, if you have questions, write them into the chat as well, if you're too shy to use the microphone. Otherwise, we will continue now with the presentation of Dr. Uwe Schaumann from the Berufsakademie Hamburg about the tool to measure the entrepreneurial competences. Mr. Schaumann, you are an organizer, so you should be able to share your screen if you like and can proceed.
Okay, can you hear me, Mr. Hogeforster? Okay, I share my screen.
If you like to share it, you don't have to, of course.
Yes, wait a moment. I have a lot of possibilities to share my screen. Okay. So I hope you can see my presentation. And first of all, I want to say welcome, also in the name of my colleague, Mr. Onkidrowski. And now I try to explain the conceptual basis of the tool for determining entrepreneurial competencies by migrants or refugees. First of all, I want to give you an overview about methods for assessing or determining entrepreneurial competencies or skills. You can understand that in the research a lot of different possibilities of identifying competencies, and some of the possibilities I will describe. The first possibility, you know, also from your school or with your school experience, you can identifying competencies through performing objective, valid and reliable tests, and we often use it in our school and educational system. But this is a very deep and very long and very complicated tool or method that we don't use it in our project. The other two possibilities of identifying competencies are very interesting for us. In the first, you see in the circle, it's an indirect possibility, the external assessment or evaluation by experts. That's if you use or if the review of objective information and data, you know, in particular the CV or school certificates or other qualifications with the within the biography of participants, and that's very interesting for to get information about the participants we have in our project. And the evaluation by the experts' own subject assessment is an indirect possibility for assessment, and we use in particular it through interviews or discussion and so on. And I will tell you later about this stage of our project. And now the very interesting part of the presentation is the self-assessment of the persons, and that sometimes it gives a name for this tool, the SAT, self-assessment tool, SAT. And about this tool, we get a lot of information about previous experiences and the acquired knowledge, as well as existing qualifications. And that was for all of us very deepful and interesting to know. Okay. In the research we make, we have two basic conceptual basis for construct and for design our questionnaire and the self-assessment tool. In the first perspective, or the first view, the view A, is the entrepreneurship competence framework. The entrepreneurship competence framework is a result of a very extensive European research project from 2016. And we look into this result in this very interesting European research project and make a lot of similar items. And we look into this project. And you can see three areas. The blue colored ideas and opportunities is one of the competence areas for entrepreneurship competence, and the orange resources, and the green into action. I will not describe all the different competence areas with 15 competencies, and a little bit deeper on another level, there are 8-level progression models. And if you collect all the learning outcomes with this concept, you have over 440 learning outcomes. The first idea of us, by us was to look into this learning outcomes and to use a lot of them, and to make a questionnaire with very important learning outcomes from this research. But we know that it was too long and too complicated and not focused on the correct idea in the new entrepreneurship project. And that's why we described to focus it into a special way. You see it on the next chart. It could be that you know this differentiation. It's a very common difference of competence areas: the personal competence, methodological competence, social competences, and professional competences. And this was the second conceptual basis of the tool of self-assessment. And I think the most of the topics are, you know, and personal competences was typical for construct the personal background in the questionnaire. And I think it's very important to understand as an interim results the development of the items for the self-assessment tool by exchange with experts with regard to the European competence framework and the different areas of competence. That was a methodological basis of our questionnaire. Okay. Now I will give you some examples from the online tool. You heard it. All the participants can make an can fulfill the questionnaire by her own, and the questions are very differentiated about the 4 competence areas. The section 1, the personal background, or you know, usually questions about the person. Where are you from? Please let us know your home country and your age, and so on. And very interesting for us was with regarding with professional competencies. There you can see the connection to the conceptual basis. Question 5: do you have educational qualifications or academic titles, vocational qualifications that are of importance in your former cultural area? That's very interesting for us if somebody has own vocational qualifications with perhaps with regarding to the entrepreneurship in her country. And the second question you see is a professional background. It's very different, the professional background of the participants. We heard it from our project partner, but also a common basis was the question after the highest education level. What is your highest education level? From no degree, no school degree, till diploma of higher education. It was very interesting for us and for the person itself to describe the education level. And a connection to the professional competences was question 10. You can see it with a question: how many years of working experience for a company do you have? And specialized, did you, in the next question, did you work as an entrepreneur before? Very interesting for us and for the experts in the second phase. If someone has an experience as an entrepreneur, and this was a basic for the next coaching phase. I will tell you later. And you can see it's the next example. I don't know what's happened in my view. Sorry. Mein Bildschirm wackelt hier. Could you see the chart? Okay. Okay. In my computer, a lot of problems I see, but yes. Wait a moment. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what's the problems. I hope you can see the examples from the online tool. That question 14a and 14b. That was the question to the general or to the question if someone is curious about new things in the general, and is someone curious about new things that can be developed into a business idea. Or these items are connected to the entrepreneurship competence framework, and a lot of questions have a direct connection to this European research project, and that's only an example. I try to make the next. Okay. Also here you can see if someone can say I can build an inspiring vision of the future for myself, but also especially for others, in which I play an important role as an entrepreneur. That's our understanding. Entrepreneurship is if someone works with other people. It's very important that you or that you work with others in a team, and you have challenges in management with others. You have to construct or to bring a team, a lot of people to solve the problems and not alone. And that's a question in this item we have built. 18b, as a potential entrepreneur, I'm aware of my essential needs, desires, interests, and goals. However, also of my weakness, positive and a little bit negative assess for the person. And it was very interesting for us how self-reflected the participants are if they make a cross in the line to this question. Okay. Some results, some summarized results we gave from Hamburg. We get from Hamburg and Treviso. That was about 25 participants at the time of survey, and overall, I can say it to the beginning, it was a very good support from the local organization to all the participants. And the plan to make the questionnaire understandable and to give support for the participants who can or who could understand all the questions perfectly was very good. And here we have some selections from the results. Part A, the beginning, you can know, was do the participants understand all the questions and all the processes and steps to this project, and that's why we asked I could understand the questions if necessary with support concerning the contents and answer well from my view. Yeah, you see the most of them from the participant agree with the item, and that was by the other two. One of the next items, you see it on the right, I have read and understood the information to the intent and propose the aim of the self-assessment and the online questionnaire. Always necessary to interpret the results and to make the further step. You can know if nobody knows what happened, then you can't decide or you can't use the results, and then you have a lot of problems in methodological and planning and organization, the other phases. Okay, almost of them agreed with this item too. And the next, I have read and understood the information about the process of the self-assessment was always very important, and sometimes with support of the organization, the participants understood all this information. Okay. And I've read and understood the information about the other use of my results of the online questionnaire. What happened with the answers in the next steps was very interesting for the participants. And that's what we asked them, and the most of them agree with this item. And I think this was a very good answer, and was also good for the organization, and they have done a good job to give support to the participants they need. In a different way, you can see here the multi-stage process in the project. It was the first step for the participants to make the self-assessment of competencies by himself, and then he make almost the online questionnaire. Sometimes in the project, people or participants get support, not online, or sometimes offline, but all the participants make the self-assessment on basis on the questionnaire. And very important for the next process, for the next step was assessment of competencies by experts, and these experts were involved and gave support. And you can see it in the picture, 3 heads in the picture. The first idea was that we have 3 representatives, 1 representative from the organization who makes a process and controls all the steps, and 1 person should be a trusted person who had a lot of trust or gave a lot of trust to the participants. And the third was a person with entrepreneurship experience now or earlier. But I can say that all experts say 3 persons was too much, 2 was enough. At the end, we gave a recommendation that the person, the entrepreneurship experience, entrepreneurship experience is very important, and the person from the organization. In the most cases, the person had a lot of trust to the participants, and that was enough. 2 persons is enough for this second step. The third step was planning and coordination on further action after the self-assessment and the second step. The persons have to decide or have to think about the next steps. And in the 4th step, you can see with the headline information for the participant on the expected need and possibilities of training, counseling, and coaching. And that was working together with the participant, and there was a round with the 2 experts and the participants, and then they get the feedback from the experts, and the experts explain her view or the view of how the participant can make more training or need training. Sometimes the participant needs more counseling or coaching. You know, some of the participants had a lot of traumatic biography, and it could be that at this point, as a 4th step, the person was not able to make a training in business administration, and it could be that he needs a lot of coaching for the first, and later on he can make a training. And it was a very whole concept to make or to look at the training and the personal interest and the needs the participants had. Okay. And that was the basis for our insight with the use of the self-assessment tool to give the first experiences and recommendations. And some of them you see here. First, we can say the use of the online tool is a good first step in determining your entrepreneurial skills. It is important to include all relevant groups of people and to explain the entire procedure well. In every time and every phase, all groups of people had to know what has happened and what will be happened in the future. The second, it is important to build trust, very important to build trust and demonstrate transparent processes for the participants, migrants or refugees, because they want to know what has happened, and sometimes had a lot of problems, and you have to look behind the problems or to look behind some questions, and that was very interesting and necessary to give a correct recommendation. And the next presence of a regular contact person for participants in the competence assessment procedure is crucial. It was very interesting to see if in the group by the expert a contact person there was a contact person who gave a lot of trust to the participants. Then it was a very interesting discussion, very open and very trustful, and that's what you need to give support to this group of participants. It's understandable, I think it was sufficient language skills of the target group are important to understand the whole idea of the tool and the individual items of the questionnaire. Sometimes we get a critic to the questionnaire. It was too high level, a little bit too complicated, and then you need a very easy language and easy understanding items, and that's what is very important because of the experience from the participants with the language in the resident state was sometimes not very good. And the next, the participants must be made very clear that the online tool is not an exam. Sometimes we hear, oh, it's an exam. What have I done to get a high, a lot of points, and so on. It is not an exam, but it is a self-assessment, and that's very interesting and very important in the beginning that the organization made or gave a lot of information that it is not an exam and you can not lose or so on. And the next, in an expert discussion with the participants, and individual consultation should take place. It's a lot of time sometimes to an individual consultation, and central to this are the questions: what knowledge and skills does someone already have as potential entrepreneur? And the next, you see what additional support does he need? And about these two questions, we get a lot of information, and we gave, or the organization, a local organization gave a lot of information to the participants, and that's a very different way to give support. One from the participant can make the training now, and another participant have a lot of counseling or coaching processes after the self-assessment, and he could be later on beginning this training. Yes, and the last one, the tool is the beginning of further support and recommendation, especially for qualification measures for entrepreneurship. It's a very good support. And for example, relevant parts of business administration, you know it, and we hear it later on, a module like business plan, like financing, like a lot of typical topics from business administration. And that was the second, or was the next step in the whole project. And all the participants get a lot of information about the next step, and about the training and coaching and consulting he needs. Okay, many thanks for your attention. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Uwe Schaumann. Do you have any questions regarding the presentation of Dr. Uwe Schaumann or the self-assessment tool? If not, I'm happy that now we finally hear a female speaker. This is Mrs. Haldenpichler-Ripfel from Institut für angewandte Gewerbeforschung der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich of the Chamber of Austria. And she will share the experience with the language training with refugees. You're an organizer. I hope it works for you to share your screen. Perfect.
Hello? Do you see already my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Hear you.
Just a moment, but I can see it. Sorry. Just a moment.
No problem. Take your time.
Now it's okay. Do you see my screen? Then I can start. I'm sorry. Yes, just a moment. Yes, now ready. Hello, do you see a screen? Experience with language trainings for foreign new entrepreneurs?
Yes, everything fine.
Okay, fine. Yes, I would also like to welcome everyone and send greetings from Vienna. And in the next 10 minutes, I will pass on to you our experience that we've done in the course of our German course training. And for that, I have prepared 8 points to briefly outline the process and the experience and to give you an idea of what we have learned about that and about our experience. The development of the language course had to be carried out under the following parameters. The target group for the German course were people with a refugee background and who wants to set up their own business in Austria, who wants to found a company or take over an existing company. The target contents for the participants were to increase the linguistic preparation for the entrepreneurship training competences, and also in the field of the business startups. In order to be able to exist as a company, there's no question, you have to know German when you want to run an enterprise in Austria. And the aim was above all to strengthen the language skills in the business startups and to expand the vocabulary. And additionally, it was important for us to increase the intercultural competences. And that was very important for us. That was a focal point to strengthen the communicative and intercultural basic skills, especially in the economic and international and national context. And the requirement for the participants was the participants should have a language level of B2 or higher. When creating the language course, we have, of course, used existing textbooks like the modular textbooks Sicher B2 from the Weber Verlag. And for the technical areas, for the entrepreneurial one, we have used the textbook Wirtschaftsdeutsch Neu from Hanse-Parlament Verlag. And we have taken over the tool for the intercultural competence training. We've taken the tool from Wirtschaftsdeutsch Neu by the Goethe Institute in cooperation with the Association of German Chambers Industry and Commerce. And in this tool, we use 2 methods, the scenario method and the cultural assimilator. I'll go into more detail about that later. Yes, in the planning for the time frame, in the planning, we had planned a total of 240 teaching units of 45 minutes each, and the division of the contents was as follows. 2/3 of the teaching units were intended for language competence in general and in specialist areas, and to train and strengthen intercultural understanding. And 1/3 of the time was the training of written skills. Yes, and the implementation of the language training was, the time frame of the course was from Monday to Friday, and the duration of 4 months, and with a 3-week interruption in September. And yes, and the requirement, coming to the point 2, was simply to find suitable participants. It was necessary to find participants with the following requirements: people with a refugee background. And the most important thing is that they have an interest in starting a business, also to become self-employed, ideally in the area of craftsman. And they should have already existing high level of language competence in German with at least B2. All in all, playing is always a very fine and good thing. The reality plays with different rules. So we found enough interest people, but they are people who want to start a business, who want to become self-employed, but often the language skills was not that advanced as we looked for. It was also A2 or B1. But our focus was on the willingness and on the interest to become self-employed, and this was the most important criterion for acceptance into this project. And this meant that we also accepted participants into the project who did not yet speak German very well, but already had a concrete idea for starting a business. And to determine and classify the language level of each participant, we used the placement test, which is used by the Goethe Institute, and this placement test was done online. We planned the language course with the level B2 or C1, and so we had to do an adaptation of the original plan because the group was very heterogeneous. And so it was necessary to offer also a course for A2 and B1. And so we divided the group size into 4 groups. C1 and B2 were on Monday and Wednesday, and A2 and B1 were on Tuesday and Thursday. And on Friday, we put the whole group together. And on this day, the focus was on the training of intercultural skills. The intercultural understanding is absolutely necessary in order to be successful in the market in Austria. For people with a different cultural background, it is important to know how we Austrian think, how we behave, and how authorities function in Austria, and how the Austrian consumers are. It is important what you have to observe and what you have to consider when you found an enterprise. Yes, all in all, the language training is built on 3 pillars: the general language training, the technical language training, and the training for intercultural communication skills. And I will deal with that more now in detail. The training of intercultural communication skills. I want to talk a little bit more about the scenario method. The goal is to construct situations that occur in the daily life of self-employed people. And the aim is to learn the following: solving of practical work tasks using linguistic communicative approaches, cooperation, interaction, and the transfer of the newly acquired skills into future situations. And I would also like to give you now a few examples for that. You have to reenact fictitious real situations that you will experience as a self-employed person. For example, the contact with authorities, the discussion with landlords, discussion with donors, conversation with business partners, sales talks, or for example, the discussions in the field of complaint management. Another method we used was the cultural assimilator. It is a cognitive understanding oriented training method, and it is focused that you get the ability to train foreign culture patterns of justification using exemplary cases. And the basic assumption there is that cultural misunderstandings are not based on different behavior, but on cultural specific patterns of interpretation. And the method works with critical interaction situations. And these are fictitious working situations as a self-employed person in Austria. And the very important thing is the change of perspective in order to understand the situation also from the point of view of the counterpart. And after the training, the feedback and contradictions are discussed and negotiated. And the aim of the training is that the participants get the ability to recognize and learn to understand foreign cultural attributions. I give you a few examples for that. The appointment agreements, for example. In Austria, you arrive punctually, preferable 5 minutes before, certainly not half an hour before, because as you put your counterpart in stress if you're too early. Maybe it's in the middle of preparation. And you definitely don't arrive half an hour late or sometimes in the morning when 9 o'clock is arranged. In other cultures, that's maybe not so strict. In Austria, we are in time. Being an unexcused hour late is considered a sign of great unfriendliness and disrespect. And in Austria, coming much too early or much too late is regarded as disrespect. So you should really be in time. Other example, the greeting rituals. In Austria before Corona times, it was quite normal to shake hands, the right hand. In France, people hug each other very quickly, even if they don't know each other well. As well, a look is already a greeting. In Austria, it is the handshake, hopefully back to Corona. After Corona, at the moment, it is the elbow or the foot, or we wave each other. The same is, for example, with conversation, eye contact, to conduct a conversation. We look each other in the eyes when we talk to each other, not too intensively. In the West and South of Europe, people look each other in the eyes much more, and it is not to be interpreted as aggression or something else. In some Asian countries, looking into each other's eyes is a sign of aggression. In other countries, if someone never looks you into the eyes, it could be a sign of too little interest or too little attention. These have to be always understood in the right context. And if you are sensitized here in fictitious practiced situations, then it is a very good exercise. Or, for example, another example is hand signs and gestures. Hand signs and gestures can go completely wrong in different cultures. In Austria, the sign with the thumb and index finger, for example, like that, is a sign for super, great. In Italy, it's rather a very vulgar sign. Or the left hand, for example, in the Asian region, people never give anything with their left hand. So if you apply to an Indian company and hand over your application documents with your left hand, it will be very difficult for the interview to be successful. Your application documents are immediately disposed of in the dustbin. The left hand there is considered to be dirty or to deeply impure. Here in Austria, you give your right hand normally, hopefully again. So, these are only few examples of how cultural differences can often lead to great misunderstandings and disagreements. This is what we try to train and concretize in our course. Now we'll show you a picture of our language course. We were able to rent rooms at the university for a language course, for example. And we have also offered the participants the possibility to continue learning German outside of the language course via Moodle platform. The offer has not been used really intensively, either because the technical possibility were not available or because of time constraints. The participants often have a lot of other obligations, such as already having a job or training, family, or other challenges to cope with. And the courses ended with the possibility to take a recognized exam. It was important for us that we offer them an official format of exam, and it was the Austrian Integration Fund and the Austrian Language Diploma. And yes, the summary, the conclusion of our experience with the language course is that the cooperation with existing established language course providers. There's no need to reinvent the wheel again. Things that are already existed and established should be used. And some schools are very flexible and willing to set priorities in the course, such as teaching the topics for starting a business, our intercultural trainings, for example. And finally, I would like to show you a picture of our participants during the course and say thank you for listening and goodbye. Do you have any questions? Are you still here?
No questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Pichler-Rippel. Very interesting to see some practical experiences. No questions? I look at the chat. No. If there are no questions at this point, I would like to give the microphone, not the floor, the microphone to my colleague Elina Pedolina, who will share some insights about the models and experiences of successful training of entrepreneurs that we discovered.
Hello, everyone. I hope you hear me well. Yes, you do? Okay, that's great. Yes, thank you very much. My name is Elina Priedolena, and I greet you from Hamburg. It's my pleasure to present you models and experience of successful training of entrepreneurs, and I will present you also 2 trainings we adapted, developed, and realized in the project. But first of all, very shortly about the, it doesn't work. Oh yeah, now, very shortly about the bottlenecks and challenges. Dr. Max Rogefoss mentioned them before, therefore very shortly about them. We identified 2 types of bottlenecks and challenges SMEs face. On the one side, we have quantitative bottlenecks. This is about the large and growing shortage of young entrepreneurs, mainly caused by demographic developments, but also in Eastern European countries through emigration. And on the other side, we do have qualitative bottlenecks, and meaning that people who are here in our countries who could take on a business or start one are lacking skills and abilities to do so. So like in the fields like business administration, corporate leadership, human resources and training for younger people, and innovation capacity. So to eliminate these bottlenecks, we developed a new framework of entrepreneurship training, so we can face these challenges through very targeted and individual entrepreneurship trainings. So when developing these trainings, we should keep in mind that in Europe and Baltic Sea regions, there is a great regional difference in national peculiarities, like legal backgrounds and entrepreneurship traditions. Also, the different knowledge and experience and interests the individual entrepreneurs to be bring with. So we also should take into account the fact that SMEs have often little time, human resources, little time, financial and human resources to be a part in entrepreneurship training. And finally, last but not least, we observed that school leavers with Abitur, high education entrance qualification, tend to choose university studies rather than vocational training. So SMEs are losing a great potential of young, capable people. So knowing all this, so how can we meet these challenges and problems? We developed a step-by-step model and of entrepreneurship training with the aim to, or with the 3 aims. First one, to address new target groups and attract many of them as entrepreneurs. Secondly, to correspond to the different national and individual conditions. And third one, obtain outstandingly qualified entrepreneurs for SMEs. The result is this funnel or top-down pyramid of entrepreneurship training that offers diverse, flexible, and very individual approach to entrepreneurship trainings. We start with basic level trainings on the bottom. This is entrepreneurship certificate training and commercial specialist that we realized in the project for the qualification of refugees. And the funnel also contains higher levels like master craftsman, technician level training, and it includes even dual bachelor programs as higher education stage are also included to attract the stronger learnings with Abitur. Some words about the idea of this framework. The idea was that each phase is concluded with an official recognized examination. So that means that at the end, the trainee holds a certificate in his or her hands with which he or she can apply for a job. Learning outcomes for which you earn credit points are transferable across the stages and across the borders. The trainees can start the training from the funnel at any stage according to their own experience and knowledge, and continue training at a higher level, pause it, or simply leave it at this one training. So additionally, the trainings at each stage are modularized so that the modules can be chosen very individually. And finally, the entrepreneurship training framework offers very individual opportunities for acquiring skills and qualification, and allows to realize lifelong learning as well as attract strong learners. To the trainings we developed or adapted in the project New Entrepreneurs. The first stage, we qualified refugees in Austria. This is with a degree of entrepreneurship certificate in German Unternehmensführerschein or directly translated entrepreneurship driver's license. This stage of entrepreneurship training consists of 4 modules, and the examination was carried out by the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, so it was a very high degree of recognition. In the project, we adapted the curriculum to fit the target group of refugees, but the examination was carried out in the standardized manner. The 4 modules, here you can see them. Module A is focused on microeconomic basics like economic cycles and markets, production of service in the enterprise and in the different industries, payment and career with entrepreneur. In Module B is more about macroeconomic basics like money, state and budget, external trade and the European Union. In Module C, we go into detail in the objects like company, foundation, marketing, management, leadership, and organization, as well as business plan. And Module Up is the most challenging and comprehensive module, going into law and sales, taxes, revenue and expenditure, accounts and double entry, bookkeeping, and so on. The second stage of the we developed and realized in the project was the training to commercial specialists. This training contains 3 parts with a total of 8 modules. And at this point, in these 3 parts with a total of 8 modules, the curriculum contains introductory modules, core modules, and elective modules. At this point, I would like to emphasize the importance of the elective modules focusing on social networking, because if you leave your country like refugees do, you not only leave your home, but also your contacts and social life. So that's very important being entrepreneur. And it's very difficult to build such social network in the new country. The whole curriculum is pretty long, up to 740 hours, but it's built in a modularized way. That means you don't need to take all the modules in order to take exam at the end. We also cooperated to 2 to 3 longer internships. That has multiple reasons. On the one hand, we believe that practical training is crucial for everyone, and especially to become an entrepreneur. And for our target group, especially migrants and refugees, it's important to learn under real-life conditions, because they could have difficulties, language difficulties, and they have maybe it's easier to express them not in theoretical classes, but when working together. Another reason for internships is, as I mentioned before, is about the social circles and contacts. And because internships offer opportunity for our target group to build contacts and relationships and get to know people in this field. So during this stage, during this training, you can do 2 exams. When you complete module 7, you can become an instructor. And by doing the second exam, you can become a commercial specialist. But you need to complete both exams to become a commercial specialist. So you can do this training in full-time or part-time as it suits you. During the project, we tested and evaluated these both trainings in Austria with 15 refugees at their first stage and entrepreneurship certificate, and in Italy with 22 refugees at the second stage to commercial specialist, and in Hungary with 22 foreigners and locals at the second stage, also to commercial specialists. We evaluated these trainings based on the evaluation results. We revised and completed the curricula and teaching materials, as well as examination regulations. We transferred these materials and shared our experiences. All these materials are available for everyone who is interested in implementing these trainings. But as you saw, the funnel contains several trainings. We have for all these trainings, for all 6 levels, materials, curriculum, everything you need to carry out in the training. You can find all these materials at our website, www.Hanse-Parlament.eu. If you have any questions to this presentation, please let me know. But first of all, I say thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Predolina. Any questions for Mrs. Predolina directly? If that's not the case, then I look very much forward to the next presentation by Sophie Bernet. She's also working for the Institute für angewandte Gewerbeforschung of the Business Chamber in Austria. And she will share the experiences in working with refugees and the prospects of the integration. So now we come to the very practical result of the project, actually. So here.
Yeah, hello from Vienna again. Can you see the presentation already?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So I will tell you something about our experience in the working with refugees. And we heard, just a sec. Just a sec, we've got problems. Yeah. Just give it. So we heard already about the requirements. So it must be people with refugee background and valid residence permit and no Austrian citizenship and highly motivated to become self-employed. And the language level must be at least B1 and age of majority. I've got problems with the. Wo drückst du? Okay. Okay. So in the beginning, we for the selection for the participant, we made contact with different organizations like the Diakonie or MENT project, this organization who work with people with refugees, and organization for business creation like the Wirtschaftsagentur. And we had contact with about 40 potential participants. And we have initiated an interview with this participant. And for the assessment, we invited 20 participants and 18 came. We had 3 dates in June and in November 2018. And present at the assessment were the coach and the experts, and for sure the participant. And at one date, there were additional 2 observers from the Berufsakademie Hamburg. Yeah, and this is, so the second from the right side is one of the participants. And for the assessment, before the people became a questionnaire, self-assessment questionnaire, and we stacked them with maximum of 7 participants and the coach for assistance. And then there was the individual interview with the experts. And in advance, the experts became the result of the self-assessment and the CVs from the participants. Then there was an internal meeting with oral feedback and recommendation for the participant and a written summary. Yeah, and the results were very high. So 14 people achieved the results in the highest category and 4 in the second highest category. And here our participant. So we've got 4 female and 14 male. So 9 from Syria, 3 Iraq, 2 Iran, 2 Afghanistan, 2 Egypt. And the average age is 33 years around it. So the youngest one is 18 and the oldest one is 59. And we've got a very high education level, as you can see. Yeah, here the participant, and at our first workshop in the beginning. And here a selection of the career wishes. So we've got some accountants and tax consultants, and 2 women want to have her own restaurant, 1 want to have her own barber shop, a wedding planner, integrator, their own travel agency, their own internet platform, and 2 designers. That's the wishes of people. Yeah, and the coaching. So at the coaching, there were very different topics, but mainly we helped them to write the letters of the application for internship and search for internship, or dealing with official channels and research very different researches, then to help them to find legal options for setting up a company and founding, search for founding opportunities, training opportunities, and and support with the development of the business idea. And the people took the coaching very differently. So some of them came very regular, about every 2 weeks, and others just ask if there was need. But mainly the people use telephone coaching, especially in the Corona time. So we've got heaps of telephone coachings. And some of the participants just only uses the courses and the workshops. Yeah, the coaching, the challenges of the coaching was to find the internship. That was really hard. And so for everybody, it's hard to build up a business and earn money for living at the same time. But for the participant was especially hard because they have to react and to wait that maybe there are changes in the resistance status, and that's really hard. And sometimes it's happened that suddenly the change the resident status, and then you can't work on your business idea. And yeah, and to find so as financial support, it's very hard. And so solving housing and everyday problems next to the business idea. Yeah. So the network within the group, there was a WhatsApp group was created, and where they shared ideas and tips and events. And there was a network with external partners. It was, for example, Caritas Commit, that's the organization who work with young refugees, and the WKÖ Trade and Crafts Division, WIFI Vienna, WKÖ Educational Policy, and Wörden Hilft, that's a regional initiative. Yeah, in the very beginning of the project, we had a motivation and creativity workshop. It was one day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and there were 12 participants, and all of them were very motivated and open. And there was a interchange among themselves. And everyone, in the end, everyone went out with the next step. Here are some pictures of this workshop. Here they created their posters with their ideas, and then they presented them to each other and got feedback. This is the designer with this idea. Yeah, and then we had the business training. We heard already about it. So we've got module A, B, and C. And that was held in WIFI, and it was 2 evenings per week over 4 months. And after each module, there was an examination. And module UP was held in the WKÖ. And in the beginning, they had a meeting with the trainer just to know each other and to ask questions. And then there was 1 week crash course in August and 5 evenings in October and November 2019, and the final exam was in December 2019. And the coaches, they had professional education and many years of experience in the training and education in the field of business creation and company setup, and but also lots of experience with people with refugee background. And that was very important for us. Lots of patience with language and comprehension problems, and much of empathy. And that's really important if you work with refugees, we think. Yeah, and these are the 2 trainers. And the participation. So for module A and B, there was 15 participants registered, but just 8 came very regular and took the exam, and 5 passed. And module C, there were 7 participants and 7 took the exam and 5 passed. And module UP, there have been also the 7 participants and 4 did the exam already, and the other 3 have to learn a bit more, and then they will do it in a couple of months. But all of them want to finish the business training. So here are some pictures of the business training. And here, this is the pictures at the exam. Yes. So, and our experience, so there was a big engagement of many participants. And really important is the coaching, and the coaching is very flexible, and yeah, that they can use the coaching in the way they need. So per telephone or the personal, that is very important. And one experience with these free courses for us was that the people registered very easily, and then they didn't pop up. So the next time we would change this. When we have a course, we would use a fee. So the people must pay a fee in advance, and if they attend for 75%, then they get the fee back, or that they have to pay a small amount. Yeah, and another experience was that the participants were very grateful. And here are some of our success stories. So the designer has registered 2 business. The accountant got an internship and passed the final apprenticeship examination. And one participant was taken up by the MS into the company founder program with his concept of T-shirt printing. A young man from Afghanistan has finished compulsory school and will soon start his education as a wedding planner. And one Syrian has started study to become a teacher. It's a program for fleet teacher. The online platform is under construction. A very young Afghanistan has started an apprenticeship of a dental technician. And 2 women want to open the restaurant together. And the barber could take over a shop. And here you can see, this is the collection of the designer, and this is the new barbershop. I mean, the takeover barbershop. Yeah, thank you. So have you got any question now? Oh,
Thank you very much, Ms. It's really nice to hear these success stories, and I like a lot that you also paid attention to the networking within the group, because I see a lot of connections. If you have like somebody doing a barber shop, another being a wedding planner, 2 restaurants, I think they can really cooperate within that group. Very nice. Any other questions regarding this presentation?
If that is from Germany.
Yeah.
With our success stories, we are also kind of pleased, but still working with them on the long term after they finish the course. How's a way to deal with this kind of sustainability in the business? What is done there? That would be kind of interesting for us to hear about.
Okay. So maybe to Austria, do you have any experience regarding the sustainability of the businesses? Will you follow up on the businesses?
So at the moment, we can't say this.
Hello.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, no, at the moment we can't say this. So there is no evaluation, and no, we can't say anything about this at the moment.
Okay. It's a difficult task also for us. So I'm happy to share more information further on, probably. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, I got the wrong. Because I got a collection of questions from other people as well. And I would like to forward these questions to you if I get it to work. And now here we go. Because some people that already looked at the videos that we posted online had a couple of questions, and I will show them to you now. Okay, just a second. At the very end. Okay, so somebody asked, did the refugees have concrete ideas for being an entrepreneur? I believe the question is, did they have already concrete ideas before starting this education with us? Or did they develop this idea during the seminars together with you? Is anybody able to answer that question? Because from what we learned, I believe that many already had a vague idea what they want to do when they start their business in Germany, but not a concrete business plan yet. Maybe you had different experiences in your seminars.
Yes, so our refugees had concrete ideas, as I said in the beginning. So they know already they want to have a restaurant, they want to have a designer business, they want to have all these businesses, what I told you before. So that was very concrete. Yes.
Okay. Another question. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, technical problems.
No problem.
So, and as I said in the very beginning, we did this creativity and motivation workshop, and this helped also for finding for concretization. Yes.
Okay.
Do it.
So
It was the end.
Okay. A similar question that has been sent to us by email is, in which areas did they want to set up or take over business? But as we learned from Mrs. Bender's presentation, the kind of businesses are very diverse. So it's from being a restaurant owner to being a barber shop to being a wedding planner or designer. So I think quite creative areas, but also classical jobs. Or did you have other experiences in Hamburg, maybe in the Berufsakademie? Well, I don't believe so.
No, Mr. Hogefoss. We discussed it at a few moments, but in Hamburg, we can't say it was always a singular and selective area. It was not that we can say 50% want to take a business in this area and 20% in this area. That's not possible.
Okay. Another question has been sent by email. What experiences have the refugees gained in their home countries? Were they already self-employed there? So what has been their professional background, and have they been working as a self-employed entrepreneur already, or did they really change their working life totally when coming to your country?
Yes, we had both. We had participants who had enterprise at home, and we have participants who had only an idea to self-employed. Both categories.
Okay, so both is possible or has been possible.
Some remarks, Mr. Hogefoss from Hamburg, to the last question, if you if you can see it. Sometimes refugees told us that they have a lot of experience with self-employed, but not only by themselves, but by the neighbors or by the parents or by the big family. And that's what we found very interesting, to make the own business is a part by some refugees is a part of their experience in the family. And that could be very interesting, because if they see in their own biography, in the history, that the family is a family with employed and self-employed story, then it could be to grow up the wish to be a self-employed businessman. Okay.
Okay. Then in this project, we also had partners from Italy and Hungary, and I would like to get experience from Italy. This has been a question that was sent via email, and I believe Thomas Rettich is with us as well. So the question is, Hungary was involved in the project, but somebody said Hungary did not accept refugees at all. First, is that right? And what experience did you have in Hungary? Maybe, Thomas, you can answer that question if you can hear us. Are you there, Thomas? So maybe he's having some problems with the microphone. I'm looking at the chat as well. But of course, Hungary also accepted a couple of refugees. The picture in the media has been that all refugees have been transferred to Austria and Germany, but that's right to the majority, but not all of them. A couple of refugees also stayed in Hungary, especially in the first month during this wave. Yes, maybe somebody else can report on activities, experiences in Hungary. Somebody feel confident to do that? No, unfortunately not, because our experience was we had one conference in Hungary, and it has been widely been praised, and the activities were quite successful. And I must admit that also we were surprised how much speed the project took up in Hungary, and because there are not many projects like this, especially in Hungary. Okay, let's see. Next question. Did the refugees you trained and advised in the project have any vocational training before? Was that vocational qualification recognized in Germany? Maybe Professor Schaum or Professor von Kitrovsky can share some insight regarding that question.
I can a little bit answer. The most of them have no vocational training like the model as in Germany, and we don't start a recognition process to look which part of her experience is the same as the vocational education or training in Germany, and we have we have no comparison between the vocational experience of both groups.
Please switch on the microphone.
So I understand that you're not able to do lip reading. Thank you for the information. The next question, or the last question we received by email, is aiming at the heart of the project. How do you generally assess the chances of refugees being able to work as entrepreneurs in the host countries? In which professions or fields of activity? And this reflects the question that has been asked earlier about sustainability. How do you assess the chances of them really starting and surviving with the business in the long run, I believe? Maybe Elena from Italy, or one of our partners from Italy, can answer that question from their experience.
Hi, everybody. Hi from Italy. Okay, I think that the chances are quite good in Italy for a foreign people, for a refugee to start a new business. But the main problem that we have faced is that they don't have any money at disposal to make this. So the budget is the main problem, I have to say. They have quite good ideas, but they don't have the fundings available. This is the problem, I think. If they are here in Italy for about 10 years, I can say they had the possibility to start to start working and spare money to start their own business. In this case, they have concrete opportunities. Mainly the activities, the business activities focus on restaurants or commercial shops, and they try in a certain way to maintain the connections with their own countries. Maybe they sell furnitures or foodstuffs from the origin countries. That's what we have noticed or found in the experiences that are currently running or in the business ideas. But the main problem is money to start a business.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Elena. I believe that's unfortunately quite true. And I also heard that from Germany, that even though there are a lot of hardworking immigrants that want to set up their business, it's much more difficult for them to get a loan or credit. And this is surely a bottleneck when starting your own business as a refugee. Absolutely. Oh. Yes, I believe that was the last question that we received for this project. But maybe you have questions, somebody from the group? If not, it's exactly 4 o'clock, and we set up this meeting from 2 to 4. So in this sense, we are quite German, I guess. Similar to the Austrian partners, quite on time. Are there no more questions or comments? Something you want to share? If not, I would like to just inform you again that we uploaded a lot of videos and presentations to the platform. You can download the presentations as PDF or PowerPoint, and you can still also use the opportunity to send us questions, and we'll be happy to answer them during the final month of the project. Okay, other than that, I thank you very much for your time and for keeping the time in your presentations. That's been quite interesting, and I'm quite happy for this project. It has been a big success. I know it's not easy, and the group of immigrants is very heterogeneous, and it's not, but every company that we start, every business that we put to life is a big success, I believe. And so thank you very much for your work on this as well. And talk to you soon. Maybe not in a real life meeting anymore until August, but hopefully after that. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
And thank you for the support from Litop, actually. I just read in the chat. Thank you. Bye.